warnings right now, including Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah, that's an area that is no doubt of concern right now as we're dealing with the tornado warning. We'll detail that in just a second. But look at some of the damage caused by the line of storms as they rip through Oklahoma during the overnight. Public schools there in Barnesdall, they are closed today as many homes are without power. On top of a number of tornado reports in the plains, at least one building in Texas caught fire after a suspected lightning strike. So yeah, these storms started yesterday. Southern Plains moved across the Midwest and then continuing now, pushing east Ohio Valley and now West Virginia. So let's talk about what's going on. There's the area of stormy weather right now. It's kind of overlaid on top of the risk for severe weather for the day. Notice this zone in the purple? Yeah, very likely to be dealing with severe weather. Areas that have already seen it, more expected to develop and get going there. But right now, this line is remaining quite active, pushing now across western sections of West Virginia. Along this line, kind of a squall line here, a number of severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place, indicating the areas susceptible to dealing with some of those damaging wind gusts that could be in excess of 60 miles per hour. But along that line and within it, we've been watching areas of spin, little spin-ups that have been taking shape. And you notice what we've got now in Charleston, you are under a tornado warning. It's a pretty large bit of real estate in that tornado warning. They tend to usually be a little bit smaller in terms of the scope. But right now, the National Weather Service Office is looking at that line, and along that whole area, they've just been watching and seeing a whole lot of areas of spin. So rather than having 10 different warnings being issued, they're going ahead and saying, hell, let's just warn this whole line and this whole part of the line that is exhibiting and showing these areas of rotation for tornado warning. So watching out. Yes, the damaging wind threat is still there, but also the risk for spin-ups along that whole line as it's pushing closer and closer to Charleston. So heads up there for you there in Charleston, South Charleston, you're in there as well until 11:15. You're under a tornado warning. Line moving on off towards the east, close to 60 miles per hour there. So it is moving very, very quickly. Notice how things have quieted down now back along 64 from Huntington to the Moorhead area, back over towards Lexington. Those areas much, much quieter than it was an hour or two ago. But watch those zones potentially, the lighting up, taking shape a little bit later on today. The southern end of that line of storms continuing here. South now of Paintsville, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's for parts of Floyd, Martin, as well as Pike counties until 11:30 again. You notice there is a tornado possible tag on that, where the main risk is those damaging wind gusts. But as we saw earlier there, they're just west of Charleston. Spin-ups are a potential risk that we're facing, so a tornado possible. So be prepared for a tornado warning to be issued at just about any moment. This whole area is outlined with Torcon values that are pretty high. That purple zone, Torcon value is reaching up to about a 7. And then surrounding that in that darker shade of the red, it's a Torcon value of a 5. And that goes down through central parts of Kentucky, down into Tennessee, and even into parts of Virginia and North Carolina. You've got Torcon values at a 3. Not as high as the 7 for sure, but it's also not a 0, so there is still a risk. Pay attention to how these storms are progressing. We have a tornado watch until 1 o'clock. This is the one that has just been issued not too long ago here for parts of West Virginia until, again, that 1 o'clock time frame. Charleston, you're in the middle of that. We move our way back off towards the south and the west, and you can see how things have kind of quieted down here into northern portions of Kentucky. But things are starting to kind of reload in the atmosphere. That tornado parameter that's in place, indicating the areas where tornadoes are going to be a little bit more favorable. And we're starting to see more of those areas kind of bubbling up with the yellows and the oranges and some of those reds. Southwest Kentucky down on into Tennessee. And that's where we think we'll see things refiring back up over the next couple of hours. Watch this area very closely here this afternoon. Not just one round, but a couple of rounds of storms before we finally see kind of the main front push on through. And that comes in later tonight. Lexington, eventually Charleston, another round late tonight past midnight, and then that moves on off towards the east. Once that heads east, it'll be quieter in terms of severe weather, but we're not out of the woods in terms of wet weather and maybe even some snowy conditions. Much colder air mass tries to settle on in. We'll be talking snow in the Midwest and a chilly rain through parts of the Ohio River Valley. Whew. All right, Molly, lots to track here for us this morning. More to come. You're timing it out.
Well, several threats extend across the Ohio Valley and Appalachian Mountains. Cities across Kentucky, you face a tornado threat, and parts of Pennsylvania, you have to watch for high water from the rain coming down so quickly. Pittsburgh has had a flash flood warning for the past hour, almost 2 hours or so, for all of the rain that's already fallen and will continue to fall. I want to take you to our Torcon map because we want to keep this top of mind. Ohio has not seen a Torcon of 7 since 2013. It's been quite some time, and that's what we have today. Columbus, Cincinnati, but this stretches down into Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, Nashville. You have a Torcon of 5. Let's focus on 7 for a second, and what does that mean? Numerous tornadoes are possible. You do have the increased chance for strong tornadoes, so we're talking EF2 or greater. We've already seen that in the Ohio Valley so far this season. Think back to mid-March. We had a number of tornadoes, 2 of them actually EF3 tornadoes. And some of these could be long tracks. So what does that mean? It means you have to be ready to put your severe weather plan into place within a matter of minutes. You need all the time that you can get to get into that safe zone. So talking about it now before you have a warning will save you that time. Murray Hill, you have a Torcon of 7. Bowling Green, 5, as well as back towards Paducah. Now the numbers do taper off the further you head to the west, but anywhere that you have a number, you have a threat. So let's get you the timing on here. And this is where we're already seeing some of the instability start to build. And also keep in mind, we're going to see multiple rounds of rain and storms today. So once one moves through, you're not done until we can get the cold front to move through later this evening, and that will finally calm things down. Rain in Bowling Green, rain in Russellville, thunderstorms in Clarksville right now, thunderstorms in Murray, just to the south of Paducah. This is the timing that we're expecting for the next few hours. We'll see rounds of thunderstorms. We'll see an additional round around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time. And notice some of these white, brighter spots that are starting to appear on high-res future radar. That's indicating some very strong updrafts, perhaps some discrete supercells. This storm mode is a little bit messy. It's a little bit muddy in the warm sector where we're going to have a lot of activity going on at once. But if we see a discrete supercell or we see a storm with a very strong updraft, that's when we can anticipate some large hail and perhaps a tornado. Now here's the cold front coming through later this evening, and that clears things out, and that's when things finally start to calm down. Now behind that cold front, we actually do have some truly cold air that's going to be filtering in. Cincinnati, Lexington, Louisville, you have a Torcon of 7, and look how many major interstates that encompasses. We're talking I-71, I-64, I-65, I-75. All of these will not be the place that you want to be caught in as these storms start to move through over the next few hours. Now, we've already seen a round this morning. Here comes this afternoon, 1 to 2 o'clock, we have more rain, more storms. 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, another round of rain and storms moving through. All of these are going to be strong, and all of these we have to watch for all modes of severe weather. Now, I think the big question for later in the evening time frame is how much is our atmosphere going to be able to recover? And all of our models are saying it will be able to recover and provide us with all hazards of severe weather. Here's our cold front moving through finally, and it'll be around 8, 9 o'clock that we can finally, Alex, breathe a big sigh of relief in a place like Louisville.